Hello and welcome to Better Body Movement. This class is designed to help you start feeling well.
I have less pain, really literally eliminate that pain.
I just feel better.
I can tell that my posture is changing.
Bright light in the day when we've done our workouts online.
Makes me feel so good about myself.
The upper part of the leg is made up of 4 different muscles known as the quadricep. The quadricep is made up of the rectus femoris, being the most superficial muscle. The vastus medialis runs on the inside, the vastus lateralis runs on the outside, and the vastus intermedius runs deep directly under the rectus femoris. The 3 deepest muscles connect on the femur and just above the knee, whereas the rectus femoris passes from the ilium all the way over the kneecap into the tibia, passing 2 joints. Using a foam roller, work the front of the quad and into the side of the TFL band with the toe and knee against the wall. Start rolling the foam roller down the quad with your hands. If you feel a tender or tight spot, hold in that position and quickly press the roller back and forth over the tight spot. Gradually work your way down the entire front of the leg toward the knee. Continue to change positions, working through the front of the quad. When you feel a tender spot, maintain pressure and quickly jostle the massage stick up and down. Then transition to the side of the leg. With the foot against the wall, press the roller in the same manner, pushing it down the side of the leg. Try to relax the leg while the foam roller works into the muscle tissue. I find this to be the best release for my IT bands. Another way to work the quadriceps and the IT band is using the massage stick. Allowing the leg to relax, start with firm pressure just above the kneecap, dragging the pressure all the way up towards the hip. Change the position slightly and continue to pull up the quad. When you feel a tender spot that feels like a knot, you're going to apply pressure and shake it back and forth. Notice the rollers are not actually moving. The pressure just stays in one spot. When you finish about 30 pulses, continue the pull up the leg. If you find there's too much tension in the quad, straighten the knee and allow the leg to fully relax. This can help you get deeper into the tissue. Again, each time you find a tender spot, continue to relax into it. Create quick movements through the tender spots and finish with a pull up towards the hip. A more intense way to work the quads is laying in a plank position using a foam roller. In this position, you can roll up and down the quads looking for the most tender part. Once you find a tender part, bend the knees and then relax down slowly. Then flex into the foam roller by straightening your knees tight. After you complete 7 to 10 repetitions there, draw circles with the feet, both clockwise and counterclockwise. Relax and breathe, adjusting as necessary, making sure you relax the quad. The final and most intense work we're going to do is with the lacrosse ball. Laying on your stomach, use a book under the lacrosse ball. Place the lacrosse ball directly on the quadricep. You may have to move the ball around to find a few different spots that are tender. When you find the most tender ones, bend the knee, allowing the muscle to stretch, and then straighten the knee, contracting the muscle over top of the lacrosse ball. Continue this for 7 to 10 repetitions. When you find a spot that needs extra attention, get yourself a little more comfortable, allowing your head to rest. Change positions by rotating the leg in or out based on the type of work that you need. To work more medially, simply roll your body over, exposing more of the inside of the leg. The upper part of the leg is made up of 4 different muscles known as the quadricep. The quadricep is made up of the rectus femoris, being the most superficial muscle. The vastus medialis runs on the inside, the vastus lateralis runs on the outside, and the vastus intermedius runs deep directly under the rectus femoris. The 3 deepest muscles connect on the femur and just above the knee, whereas the rectus femoris passes from the ilium all the way over the kneecap into the tibia, passing 2 joints. Using a foam roller, work the front of the quad and into the side of the TFL band with the toe and knee against the wall. Start rolling the foam roller down the quad with your hands. If you feel a tender or tight spot, hold in that position and quickly press the roller back and forth over the tight spot. Gradually work your way down the entire front of the leg toward the knee. Continue to change positions, working through the front of the quad. When you feel a tender spot, maintain pressure and quickly jostle the massage stick up and down. Then transition to the side of the leg. With the foot against the wall, press the roller in the same manner, pushing it down the side of the leg. Try to relax the leg while the foam roller works into the muscle tissue. I find this to be the best release for my IT bands. Another way to work the quadriceps and the IT band is using the massage stick. Allowing the leg to relax, start with firm pressure just above the kneecap, dragging the pressure all the way up towards the hip. Change the position slightly and continue to pull up the quad. When you feel a tender spot that feels like a knot, you're going to apply pressure and shake it back and forth. Notice the rollers are not actually moving. The pressure just stays in one spot. When you finish about 30 pulses, continue the pull up the leg. If you find there's too much tension in the quad, straighten the knee and allow the leg to fully relax. This can help you get deeper into the tissue. Again, each time you find a tender spot, continue to relax into it. Create quick movements through the tender spots and finish with a pull up towards the hip. A more intense way to work the quads is laying in a plank position using a foam roller. In this position, you can roll up and down the quads looking for the most tender part. Once you find a tender part, bend the knees and then relax down slowly. Then flex into the foam roller by straightening your knees tight. After you complete 7 to 10 repetitions there, draw circles with the feet, both clockwise and counterclockwise. Relax and breathe, adjusting as necessary, making sure you relax the quad. The final and most intense work we're going to do is with the lacrosse ball. Laying on your stomach, use a book under the lacrosse ball. Place the lacrosse ball directly on the quadricep. You may have to move the ball around to find a few different spots that are tender. When you find the most tender ones, bend the knee, allowing the muscle to stretch, and then straighten the knee, contracting the muscle over top of the lacrosse ball. Continue this for 7 to 10 repetitions. When you find a spot that needs extra attention, get yourself a little more comfortable, allowing your head to rest. Change positions by rotating the leg in or out based on the type of work that you need. To work more medially, simply roll your body over, exposing more of the inside of the leg.
Awesome. Well, good morning. We are set and ready to go for our core day, so I hope you are prepared for that. Before we get started, let's go through our iDedicates, the people that we're praying for each day, just as we go and about our day and what we do. We want to dedicate with intention those things. So today, that would be Lori's mom, is doing dialysis 3 times a week. Ethan, still with his liver and bile duct cancer. My friend's wife, who was diagnosed with breast cancer as well. They're treating that naturally, so praying continued healing over her. Sky, toying with her transplant process with all the medications that are trying to keep her from becoming infected. The side effects of that really are a big prayer that we have for her. And then Aaron's foot and ankle. Remember, you also can put an iDedicate on our board, or even just in the comments if you want us to be praying for them as well. We absolutely would love to do that. Remember, we do have a verse of the day, so let's go through that. Absolutely fantastic. A new commandment I give to you, that you love one another just as I have loved you. You also are to love one another. I believe this came right after Jesus sat down on the floor with a bowl and a towel and washed the disciples' feet. The last time he knew he was going to be serving them like that. And so that's pretty incredible. That was the dirtiest and lowest of positions a person possibly could have, was to wash someone else's feet. And so that's what we're here to do. We're here to just do our best to love others the way that Jesus loved others in the world as well. So pretty cool stuff. Good morning, Gail. So happy you could be online live with us. Remember, if you do have questions and have joined us live, that is absolutely fine. Ask them in the comment sections. Also, if you have not subscribed to our channel to be able to find us easily at 9 o'clock for our live shows, hit the subscribe button. It'll show up a lot easier on your YouTube when you open it up, and then you can just click in and jump into the workouts with us. So go ahead and do that right now. Right now. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, good. Let's go ahead and get started. We'll jump into the core routine. Remember, with the core routine, we are working towards being able to perform that Kegel and pelvic tilt really, really firm. So make sure that you focus on that as we go.
Pelvic tilt.
Okay, good pelvic tilt. Compress that core nice and tight. And again, for majority of these, all but one, we want the butt cheeks to be relaxed, okay? You're not trying to squeeze your butt together and push your feet into the floor to help your pelvis move. It should all come from the midsection, okay? And not the low back, right? We're not navel to spine doing this stuff. We are compressing to learn how to brace our spine over top of our hips, so that way we can protect our lumbar, okay? So again, Kegel and compress. Right? If you need help thinking about compression or what that's like, think about a ball dropping onto your stomach, right? Nice and tight, hold firm, okay? Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Doing your absolute best all the way.
3, 2, 1. Prepare for pelvic tilt with knee fall out.
Okay, tilt with knee fallout. So again, remember, re-squeeze your core as tight as you possibly can.
1. Pelvic tilt with knee fall out.
Okay, so again, if you don't have your core tight, your hips are going to be shifting on the floor, the whole pelvis, right? And that's not what we want. We want to be able to create a hip action. So this one would be abduction. We want to abduct the knee to the side without our hips rolling with it, right? We want to keep a tight, brace spine, knee out, and bring it back up, right?
That's halfway. Three.
Good core compression. Very, very good.
Pelvic tilt with adduction.
Okay, pelvic tilt with adduction. Okay, so you're going to compress your core, squeeze your knees together nice and tight.
2,
Excuse me.
1. Pelvic
You're gonna
tilt
drink
with
water.
reduction.
Okay, squeeze the pelvic tilt, Kegel compress, then squeeze the knees, relax the knees, keeping your core tight, then release your core. So it's pretty fun. I always share with you guys a little something about what's going on in my world. Lauren made this cup for me, and I thought it was really funny. My kid really knows me. Stay weird. She put a bunch of different stuff on it.
That's halfway.
So that's my new mug. Very good. Core compressed. Squeeze those knees, release the knees, then release the core. Again, your core should be so tight. There is no change in the way that it feels when you create the hip action, right? No change. Core tight, spine braced.
3.
Good, good, good. Nice
1.
squeeze.
Prepare for pelvic tilt with knee toward chest.
Pelvic tilt and knee toward chest. So again, compress the core, squeeze squeeze the knee towards the chest, set it back down, then do the other foot.
2, 1. Pelvic tilt with knee toward chest.
Okay? And a big compensation I see on this one a lot is when your knee comes up, the hips will do this little shift forward, right? Or lift up in the front. So we want to compress and hold that down while that lifts up. Again, do not push your opposite foot into the floor. Sometimes that goes in to try to add some stability, but we want it to all be in the core. So make sure you're squeezing tight, tight, tight.
That's halfway.
If you need to, do a belly whack. It shouldn't hurt other than the slap on the skin, but it shouldn't hurt your insides if you do that right. Very, very good. Remember your absolute best all the way through. Compress,
3,
firm squeeze.
2, 1. Prepare for pelvic tilt with bridge.
Tilt and bridge.
Three, 2, 1. Pelvic tilt with bridge.
Okay, tilt and bridge. So compress the core, squeeze the butt cheeks together, and set down. Again, do not lose your core when you lift up. If your back starts to arch, you're taking your lumbar vertebrae and you're creating a compression on your disc that's not good. Okay, so we want to hold that nice and tight and lift the whole thing simultaneously, so that way there's no change in the vertebrae and they don't slap together on the ends. Okay, so that lumbar spine should stay
That's
really,
halfway.
really tight. And we know it didn't work if you go to lift and then you set down and your hips and your low back touch, or your hips and your ribs touch. So here and here touch, but the small of the back doesn't, right? That usually means that we've lost it on the way up and then we hold it weird when we come back down. So again, only go up 1 inch if you need to. We're not looking for huge movements through a bridge. We just want a nice
3,
tight squeeze
2,
and then set
1.
right down.
Prepare for shoulder drops.
Very good. Shoulder drop. Start with shoulders coming back to the floor and then down to your butt. Okay, shoulders down and back. Then hold the ceiling up.
2, 1. Shoulder drop.
As your arm drops overhead, that's relaxation, right? We're just controlling the movement down. And then when you return by pulling your shoulder back down to that starting position, right? So your shoulder blade should go through a range of motion here, but we want to return it always to that stable environment for when we would push or pull, right? Build the stability in the shoulder blades, make it work all the right way. Good core
That's
compression.
halfway.
Through this one still, right? It's easy to forget the core, but a lot of times that's what happens is we end up losing the core and arching the back to try to get range of motion, right? So rather than my core arching to make my arm move more, I want to keep my core tight and get the extension out of the joint, okay? And that's just how you practice. So if you don't have full range of motion, that's okay. Continue to work through it just right to where your range of motion ends, and then pull
3,
down and
2,
back
1.
into that position.
Prepare for dead bug.
Awesome, dead bugs. Look at that, that quick. Round 1's almost done already. dead bug or bird dogs. But we'll put dead bugs on display this time and do bird dogs for round 2, and then you can pick what you would like to do each time we go through. Okay, so remember, put a box on your stomach that your knees and your hands would go against, and then you're extending opposites, right? You want to only extend as far as you can, maintaining that tight core, right? If you extend your leg and all of a sudden your low back is pulling up off the ground, you're extending too far, right? You're extending too close to the ground. Go more towards the ceiling on your leg extension. You might not be able to go very far until you get the strength build up and you're neurologically aligned. Your brain can tell those muscles to fire even if you go all the way to the floor, right? So do your best, Keep that low back pressed against the floor, holding firm as you extend. 10 seconds, almost there. Do your absolute best,
3, 2, 1.
Good. Awesome. Okay, long rest. So do get a drink if you have a drink right next to you, and then we will get going. Remember, these breaks are perfect times to just throw a comment in the comment section about what you're feeling, if you need anything. Pick my brain a little bit. That's why I do this live, is so that you have an opportunity to truly learn what this is supposed to feel like. It's not meant to just be another thing that you could do, but it's something that actually trains you, actually teaches you the way that we go through those progressions. And Gail, I think you're just an awesome example. Gail actually has never worked with me on location. I know there were several who have been watching, who have worked with me watching, doing everything, and we've seen incredible improvement with only doing it this way. So it's just a really cool example about asking questions while you go through this, because I will still help you through it, okay? Very good. Core compress, tight. Remember your Kegel, core compression. Now with round 2, we want to add in a little bit of a challenge. Excuse me. You want to gently be pulling the feet off the floor. So if you look real close at my feet here, you'll see I hover them a little bit. For your round 2, I want you to only pull 50% of the weight off your feet, right? So you're only just firing those hip flexors a tiny bit. Make sure your core stays on. What happens, if you look, that it pulls the spine off the floor when you go to pull those knees a little bit. If that happens, set your feet back down, relax, re-squeeze the core, and try it again.
Prepare for pelvic tilt with knee fall out.
Perfect. Then we're going to try to apply that through every single one of these motions, except for the bridge. But force that core tight, squeeze the knees a tiny bit towards the chest, go through the hip action, then return.
Pelvic tilt with
Okay,
knee
so
fall
core
out.
tight, pull those feet a tiny bit, knee out, back up, make sure the pelvis doesn't shift or shake. If you think like a bowl is sitting on your pelvis, you don't want to spill the bowl as you move the knee, right? Firm, control. Just the hip action is the only thing that's moving. Okay, and again, try again, pull just a tiny bit. That's awesome, Gail. I think about my core, about how my core moves in almost everything I do. That is the whole point. We learn how to do it here so we can go apply it out there. It's absolutely fantastic in changing the way that we go, right? Because I say all the time, right? You might work out with me for an hour 5 times a week. That's 5 hours out of your week. You've got 178 hours in the week, so that means you've got 172 to go, 173 to go screw up everything you do here, right? So you can train your posture, but if you don't apply it in real life, you're not actually changing.
2, 1. Pelvic tilt with adduction.
Very good. Again, core compressed. Squeeze those knees, then pull the knees towards the chest a tiny bit, set the feet back down, release the knees, release the core. It should take you a little bit just to get one repetition done, right? Core tight, as firm as you can. Squeeze the knees, pull just a little bit, set it back down, release the knees, then release the core, right? Squeeze really firm, working your way through this. Compress, compress, compress. Remember, doing your absolute best through it. Your absolute best. Very, very good.
1. Prepare for pelvic
Awesome.
tilt with knee toward chest.
Okay, pelvic tilt, knee toward chest. So again, compress that core super duper tight. Squeeze the knee towards the chest, then
3,
march. Okay, so we're
2,
still doing both.
1. Pelvic tilt with knee toward chest.
Right? I want you to compress that core, pull both knees a tiny bit, then go through your march. All the while keeping the opposite hip a little bit of tension on that. Make sure you force that core to work as hard as you possibly can all the way through. Okay? All the way through. Firm compression, firm compression. Do your absolute best.
That's halfway.
Very good. Again, doing your absolute best. Press that core, squeeze nice and tight. Firm, 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 all the way through, ladies, all the way through. And if you need to reset, reset, right? I don't want you doing this beyond what your
3,
core can tolerate. So
2,
take a little break,
1.
then you get one more.
Prepare for pelvic tilt with bridge.
Good, tilt and bridge. Obviously, on this one, we do not pull the knees towards the chest. You have to push your feet down, so you're going to be squeezing your butt cheeks and lifting.
3, 2, 1. Pelvic tilt with bridge. That's halfway.
Very good. Tight squeeze. Compress that core. Again, your low back shouldn't be coming up and then being off the ground when you come back down to the ground. You should be able to get your low back to brace through the entire extension process and the settling down, right? So as soon as you push into the floor, your shoulders should be going into the floor, right? You're lifting. We're not peeling like a sticker.
3, 2, 1. Prepare for shoulder drops.
Very good. Okay, here we go. Shoulders down and back as far as you can possibly get them. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Hold the ceiling up with those hands.
2, 1. Shoulder drop.
Good compression. Again, squeeze. Tight, tight, tight. Doing your absolute best through the movement. So core compressed. Pull those shoulder blades down and back as far as you can get them. Go overhead as far as you're able. You don't have to have all the range of motion right now. This is something that you work towards. Once we may get full range of motion, then we maintain it. We continue to strengthen and stabilize. Firmly use our shoulders the way that we're supposed
That's
to use them.
halfway.
Right? Again, we should be able to pull those shoulders down and back without flaring our ribs. Right? You should be able to pull the core nice and tight, stabilize the spine in the lumbar, and stabilize your shoulders. Very, very good. Do your absolute best all the way through. Compress, 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 nice and tight. Very good work.
3, 2, 1. Prepare for dead bug.
Fantastic. Get ready for the dead bugs or bird dogs. So I'll put bird dogs on display here. Absolutely phenomenal for teaching your body stability through
3,
a
2,
balance point, right?
1.
So core stability while you try to balance. Don't cat or cow your spine. Maintain a straight spine. I could care less about the extension of the arm and the leg. I care more about the core and how it braces and stabilizes the spine, right? There should be very little movement in your hips relative to your ribs and your spine. right? So if I go into extension here and I'm shaking my hips all over the place, that's not helping, right? So we're not overextending. We're just trying to get to a flat position. And that happens again over time. This is not a one time I'm going to get it right. We're training neurologically, getting the brain to fire through all parts of this movement. Compress, compress, compress. Hold tight. You're almost there. Finish strong. 5 seconds.
3, 2, 1. Long rest.
Absolutely fantastic. So 2 rounds down. We have 1 more to go. This last round, if you're able to, we're going to try to hover your feet through the movement. You can set them back down, release your core, then re-squeeze, lift the feet, do your movement, and then set them down, release the core, right? So, but just make sure you're very distinct and deliberate in the movements. You should not be losing your core throughout, okay? So that's the challenge. Let's go for it. Give me your absolute best through this last round. We want to see some good changes made, some progress through your movement.
3, 2, 1. Prepare for pelvic tilt.
All right, get set up and ready. Last round. Kegel core compression, then hover the feet, set them back down.
3, 2, 1. Pelvic tilt.
Here we go. Kegel core compression. Lift those feet, let them hover just a ½ inch off the ground, set them back down, release the core. Re-squeeze the core, the Kegel, lift the feet, set the feet, release the core. Every single time, you have to be telling yourself, you have to be saying it. Good news is, well, for most of you, you're probably laying on the floor by yourself. So talk to yourself. It's okay. It's okay if that's what it takes to be able to get the movement down. Right? Do what it takes. Kegel, core compression. If you're unfamiliar with a Kegel, pretend you got a fart and you're holding it in. Pretty simple. Good. Core compression. Pull, hover those feet, set them back down, release the core, okay? Again, Kegel, core compression. Make it work.
3,
Make it work.
2, 1. Prepare for pelvic tilt with knee fall out.
Okay, here we go. Tilt with knee fall out. So same thing, core compression. Kegel core, lift the feet, knee out, knee back up,
3,
set the feet down,
2,
and then do the
1.
other side.
Pelvic tilt with knee fall out.
Okay, but again, do not let the hips shift, especially when you're trying to hover. You've lost a point of contact with the floor, right? So you've got 2 points of contact being your hip each side, left and right, and then your upper body. You no longer have the lower body helping to hold even the slightest bit the pelvis to the floor. So if you need to shorten your range of motion, hovering, that's fine. If you can't hover, that's fine. Do what you're able to, but make sure it is a challenge. If it's not a challenge, you're not going to get change. Compress, compress, compress. Do your absolute best. Again, if you need to take a break because the core is just not holding well, take a break and then get back into it, right? Let your core take a little second. Then re-squeeze. Okay, very good. Almost there. 5 seconds.
3,
Finish through.
1. Prepare for pelvic tilt with adduction.
Here we go.
3, 2, 1. Pelvic tilt with adduction.
Okay, here we go. Tilt with adduction. So we're going to compress the core. Kegel, core compression. Squeeze your knees nice and tight. Lift the feet to a hover. Hold. Set them back down. Release the knees. Then release the core. Get right back into it. Kegel, core compression. Squeeze the knees. Lift the feet. 1, 2. Set the feet down. Release the knees. Release the core. You should be telling yourself as hard as you possibly can. As hard as you possibly can. If you think your core is tight enough right now, it is not. Squeeze harder. Squeeze harder. Compress. Awesome, awesome. Get after it, Gail. I love it. Squeeze hard, hard. Again, your best. Do your best. 10 seconds. And absolutely, it should be hard. It should be tough. You should be shaking a little bit.
2, 1. Prepare for pelvic tilt with knee toward chest.
Wonderful. Back to the marches. Okay, so remember, with the march, I want them at a hover, but don't scissor kick. You're not moving
3,
both legs at the same time.
1. Pelvic tilt with knee
Okay.
toward chest.
Kegel, core compression, hover your feet half inch off the floor. One up, all the way back down to a hover. Other foot up, all the way back down to a hover, right? You can make this slow. It's really going to challenge your core if you go slow. Because it's how do I keep my core tight without losing it through this motion where I go up and down and out to the side, right? These are all motions that we perform each and every day. The tighter we can keep our core, the
That's
more
not
we're going to
bad.
brace our spine, the better our backs and our hips feel. Okay, do your best, do your best. 20 seconds here. Again, if you think your core is tight enough, it's not. Squeeze harder. Now, harder. Hover those feet. Try to march through. Again, don't scissor kick both legs at the same time. We want to hover them. Just one.
3,
Back down to a hover.
2,
Up. Back to a
1.
hover.
Prepare for pelvic tilt with bridge.
Fantastic. 3 more to go, and then we are all done, okay? So give me your absolute best. Turn your spine to a piece of steel. Lift it up, set it back
3,
down.
2, 1. Pelvic tilt with bridge.
Okay, good pelvic tilt. Kegel core compression. Squeeze your butt cheeks as hard as you possibly can. Again, your feet should be about shoulder width apart. Should be fairly wide feeling, at least. And then those knees stay over the toes. If you go to lift and your knees are coming in, kissing each other, that is a poor movement position. Okay, we want to train those knees to be able to stay out through extension, because what is that? That's sitting down into a chair, right? I'm going from
That's
a
not
bent
bad.
hip to a straight hip. So my stand, as I come up, I should be feet apart, knees apart, come up as tall as I can. Women obviously are taught don't do that because you wear skirts. I hate skirts. I also hate high heels. 2 things that I think have completely destroyed women's movement patterns. Here we go, almost there. Almost there.
3, 2, 1.
Good.
Prepare for shoulder drops.
All right, shoulder drops. So again, get your shoulders set all the way down and back first. Make sure you get to the floor with the outside of your shoulders, right? Outside of the shoulders, way down.
Shoulder drop.
And then take them out of those ears, reach for the feet, right? Compress that core. Then we go through the movement. Again, re-squeeze the core. Just think, like as you're sitting there, I'm coming up and I'm just gonna step right on your stomach, right? Re-squeeze, compress, hold it tight. Shoulders still down and back. Come on, you can do it all the way through, all the way through. And as often as you need to reset the shoulders, do it, because that is the main focus. Core tight, shoulders down and back.
That's halfway.
I'm not as worried about the movement, especially when you're first starting. Movement doesn't matter. It's stability in the shoulder blades, right? Because we already have excessive mobility in the shoulder blades because we sit like this all day. Shoulders rolled forward. If your shoulders are rolled forward, they have too much mobility. Your shoulders are supposed to be down and back as far as your shoulder blades are concerned, so that way the joint, the ball and socket, has mobility,
3,
right?
2, 1. Prepare for dead bug.
Very good. Dead bug. Last one. Okay, you can do dead bug or bird dog, whichever one is a bigger challenge for you. Do it. Like I said, with the bird dog, it might be a balance challenge.
2, 1. Dead bug.
Okay, here we go. Good. Hold that box between the knees and the hands, right? Imaginary box. We just don't want our knees coming way up towards the chest. We want those knees to be straight up to the ceiling. Again, only extend as far as you can, keeping your core tight. That might mean you barely move your leg out. As long as your core stays tight, low back pinned down against the floor, shoulders down and back. Yeah, it's a lot to think about. That's what I want. Think about it. Think about it
That's
all the way
not
through. Okay, again, core compressed, shoulders down and back. Hold nice and tight, right? You go to the bird dog. Compress your spine. Hold tight. You might frame that for 1, 2, 3, return. Do the other side. One of the most powerful corrective exercises for the low back actually is the bird dog when it's done appropriately. will really help train your spine and your hips how to
3,
stabilize.
2, 1.
Very
Long
good.
rest.
Absolutely fantastic work. Thank you for joining in. Remember, stay consistent with these exercises. It's the small changes over a long period of time that make the biggest difference in the way that your body feels. I know everyone wants the pill, they want the shot, they want the I want to feel well right now, but unless you do something to change where you've been, you'll always get what you've always got, right? If you never change what you're doing, you'll always get what you've always got. So if you have pain through your body, if you haven't changed your body movements, you're always going to live the way that you've been living. You'll live in pain. You'll have these problems, right? So we need to incrementally change the little stabilizers through your body. Teach them to work the right way. We will start to alleviate pain, and you will feel well. Have an absolutely fantastic day. We're going to jump back into the SMR. Thank you for the like, Gail. Have a wonderful day. Do work through the SMR stuff. Remember, we do have playlists on the YouTube channel as well. And in the playlist, it has head to toe self-massage. You can pick whatever you want to work through in order to help relieve some of the most common problems as far as muscular tension. Remember, I am here to help you move well so you live well. Have an absolutely fantastic day.
The upper part of the leg is made up of 4 different muscles known as the quadricep. The quadricep is made up of the rectus femoris, being the most superficial muscle. The vastus medialis runs on the inside, the vastus lateralis runs on the outside, and the vastus intermedius runs deep directly under the rectus femoris. The 3 deepest muscles connect on the femur and just above the knee, whereas the rectus femoris passes from the ilium all the way over the kneecap into the tibia, passing 2 joints. Using a foam roller, work the front of the quad and into the side of the TFL band with the toe and knee against the wall. Start rolling the foam roller down the quad with your hands. If you feel a tender or tight spot, hold in that position and quickly press the roller back and forth over the tight spot. Gradually work your way down the entire front of the leg toward the knee. Continue to change positions, working through the front of the quad. When you feel a tender spot, maintain pressure and quickly jostle the massage stick up and down. Then transition to the side of the leg. With the foot against the wall, press the roller in the same manner, pushing it down the side of the leg. Try to relax the leg while the foam roller works into the muscle tissue. I find this to be the best release for my IT bands. Another way to work the quadriceps and the IT band is using the massage stick. Allowing the leg to relax, start with firm pressure just above the kneecap, dragging the pressure all the way up towards the hip. Change the position slightly and continue to pull up the quad. When you feel a tender spot that feels like a knot, you're going to apply pressure and shake it back and forth. Notice the rollers are not actually moving. The pressure just stays in one spot. When you finish about 30 pulses, continue the pull up the leg. If you find there's too much tension in the quad, straighten the knee and allow the leg to fully relax. This can help you get deeper into the tissue. Again, each time you find a tender spot, continue to relax into it. Create quick movements through the tender spots and finish with a pull up towards the hip. A more intense way to work the quads is laying in a plank position using a foam roller. In this position, you can roll up and down the quads looking for the most tender part. Once you find a tender part, bend the knees and then relax down slowly. Then flex into the foam roller by straightening your knees tight. After you complete 7 to 10 repetitions there, draw circles with the feet. both clockwise and counterclockwise. Relax and breathe, adjusting as necessary, making sure you relax the quad. The final and most intense work we're going to do is with the lacrosse ball. Laying on your stomach, use a book under the lacrosse ball. Place the lacrosse ball directly on the quadricep. You may have to move the ball around to find a few different spots that are tender. When you find the most tender ones, bend the knee, allowing the muscle to stretch, and then straighten the knee, contracting the muscle over top of the lacrosse ball. Continue this for 7 to 10 repetitions. When you find a spot that needs extra attention, get yourself a little more comfortable, allowing your head to rest. Change positions by rotating the leg in or out based on the type of work that you need. To work more medially, simply roll your body over, exposing more of the inside of the leg.
So like, I don't know, I'm excited.